Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm so excited to talk to you tonight. I can talk about this stuff all day, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet tonight just to answer some questions and to go over some details for you. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Sydne Pomine. I am a chiropractor. I'm also a women's health coach. I am the owner of Thrivia Chiropractic and Natural Health in San Rafael, California. And tonight I'm talking to you about the topic of temporary weight loss versus long-term weight release. So I really wanted to dive into what that actually means. Most women that I speak to, when I say anything related to like the weight loss roller coaster, they all look at me and they give me a nod because I think we know the roller coaster, right? We're going to lose 10 pounds, we're going to gain 15. We're going to lose 15, we're going to gain 20, and so on and so forth. And I personally have gained and lost the same 10, 20, almost 30 pounds at least 10 times in my life. So I deeply understand the frustration because so many women come to me and they say, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating less and I'm moving more. I'm counting my points. I'm on the treadmill for 2 hours a day. I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. Or I've lost a little bit of weight and I've had a complete stall, or I lost the weight I wanted to, but then I stopped going to the gym 6 days a week and working out all the time, and all of a sudden the weight's coming back. So why is this the case? Why is this happening? First thing I wanted to address is the calorie in, calorie out premise. The truth of the matter is if eat less, move more worked, we wouldn't have a weight problem in this country, especially with women. I don't know a single woman who struggles with her weight who hasn't successfully, at least temporarily, implemented the eat less, move more principles. And it gets so frustrating because this is what we're told. This is what our medical doctors tell us to do. This is what the thermodynamic model of calories tell us to do, is that if I just eat less and move more, the weight should drop off my body. So let's dive in a little bit as to why that's not the case and why this actually puts our body in alert mode. Most women I work with have a basal metabolic rate, meaning a baseline of calories that they need to breathe, digest, walk to the bathroom, sleep, of anywhere from 1,600 to 1,900 calories. However, the diet model of calorie reduction has them having anywhere from like 1,100 to 1,300 calories. And they do this chronically. We call this the chronic calorie deprivation model. And so what happens if you've been doing this for so long, two things happen. First, you just tank your metabolism because your body's constantly received a signal. I'm not getting any more energy than this. You need to slow everything down, including fat burning, including energy, including hormone production, because I'm not getting enough resources to do what I need to do. In addition to that, you break down bone. And oftentimes when we're having that little of calories, we're not getting enough nutrients either. So then we start breaking down muscle and bone to get the nutrients and minerals we need. So you can see how this can be a vicious cycle. The other thing that tends to happen is having this caloric deprivation sends our body a signal of not feeling safe. Our body does not care if we are happy. Our body does not care if we look good in our bikini. Our body cares that if we got locked in an ice cave and had to survive, that it could survive with the fat storages that it has on our body and the fuel coming in. So if you're not giving it enough fuel, your body's slowing down your metabolism, it's receiving the signal, I don't feel safe right now, and a not safe body will never release weight. So what are we supposed to do about this? Why do we not have more tools available to us, especially as women? The second issue we see is a lot of the information that's out there is founded on scientific literature that is done on white males between the ages of 30 and 50. I hate to break it to you, but women aren't little men. women have a far more complex hormone profile. We have a far more complex cyclic profile in our body that we aren't going to, even though we've been able to reproduce weight loss results in mice and white men, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for a female's body. So again, I see women going through this. You add on the stress of the pandemic, you add on being in a systemic long-term trauma of uncertainty. And I have women coming to me who don't feel good in their bodies, who are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and they just don't know what to do. So they start pick and choosing fad diets on the diet or on the internet. They tell me, I'm going to try keto. And they go and they try keto. And for a couple weeks, they feel great. They lose 5 to 7 pounds really quickly. And they start thinking, this is awesome. Keto's the best, until they go through their hair one day and they start losing their hair. That's a very common thing that happens with women on keto. The other buzzword I see going around right now is intermittent fasting. So a patient will come in. They'll be so excited. They'll be like, doc, I just started intermittent fasting. And I'll be like, okay, tell me what you're doing. They're like, I'm doing a 16-8. Means I have an 8-hour eating window and I'm not going to eat for 16 hours. And with this, again, you feel pretty good for a couple days until you've depleted your glycogen storages, your long-term glucose storages, your energy storages. And then after day 2, 3, or 4, you become ravenous. You will literally remove a child from the lane to get to the cupcake because your body is so determined to get some food into it. Which brings up another issue that I notice that women struggle with. We start experiencing this shame when we do it wrong. And we start going, I screwed up again. I just lack discipline. I'm bad at this. I made bad choices last night because we had that brownie, or we had that extra glass of wine, or we just didn't care and just ate whatever we wanted for the last week. And what I just cannot stress enough, especially for women, is this isn't a I'm bad, I've done something wrong shame thing. This is usually our bodies aren't getting the right micronutrients, our body isn't getting the right hydration, or the body doesn't have enough energy. And it is going to dictate the fact that you're going to go face down in a cupcake, because that's how our genetic and our neurological blueprint is when it feels like it needs more energy. And we're going to go after the easiest, yummiest tasting energy, because that's going to give us the largest dopamine hit. So it's a reshift that I work with women. It's a mindset game as well when it comes to really releasing weight, is understanding why we make the decisions we do, having compassion for ourselves, and then making the right next decision based on new information. And that's one of the major premises that I operate on in my program, is I teach women how their body is working. I teach women what their body is trying to tell them. So then after the 12-week program that I have with women, they walk away with a toolbox of information that they get to use for the rest of their life of how their body works. It is an invaluable investment that people make in their health working with me. So I spent some time talking about what doesn't work. And I think we all know what doesn't work, or you wouldn't want to see this talk tonight. So let's talk about what does work. The reason why I know this works is because at the very beginning of the pandemic, I got sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And I went deep into the literature and research to understand the physiological aspects of weight release. So I always find it funny too that we call it weight loss. When you lose something, you usually want to find it, right? If I lose my keys, I want to find it. If I lose my voice, I want it to come back. So we lose our weight and it comes back. No surprise, right? So what I focus on is the hormone model of weight release. And let me give you an overview of what that is. One of the major hormones in our body that dictates our weight, that dictates whether we feel full, that dictates how our metabolism is going to work, is insulin. And so oftentimes I talk to people about insulin, and they make the connection, Oh yeah, insulin, type 1 diabetes, like diabetics need to inject themselves with insulin. Or yeah, type 2 diabetes, lifestyle diabetes, where people have essentially eaten so many bad carbohydrates that their body is no longer hearing the signal from insulin. And those are, yeah, those are absolutely related to insulin. But what people don't realize is that insulin is the strongest signal in our body that tells our bodies to store and hold on to fat. So you can be doing everything right. You could be counting all of your points. You could be hitting even an appropriate calorie amount that you're supposed to be hitting. And if you have inappropriate insulin signaling, which most recent studies show us that 88% of all people have inappropriate insulin signaling and are considered metabolically inflexible. I'll talk about that statement in a sec. But if this primary hormone is not working right, this is a low-hanging fruit hormone. And what I mean by that is that this hormone is involved in so many other hormone cascades that when it is off, all other hormones are going to be off. So for example, I have women come to me with a hormone panel and their estrogen's all over the place and their progesterone's all over the place and they just don't know what to do. Do I go get an estrogen patch? Should I go get on birth control? What am I supposed to do? And I always look at that, and I look at all health things from this standpoint of what's the low-hanging fruit that we can remove, that we can clean up, that's going to give us a better picture of what we're dealing with here. And so in my program, I take women on a 12-week journey where I teach them how to become insulin sensitive again. And I teach them metabolic flexibility. What I mean by metabolic flexibility is all of us have a genetic blueprint. All of us have the genetic ability to be able to burn both fat and sugar as an energy source. However, most of us have only been sugar burners our entire lives. Probably since we stopped being breastfed, we became sugar burners. So our body literally forgets how to access the other metabolism of fat burning. This is also how we lose weight, because not only will our body be able, if we're metabolically flexible, our body can use fat, a food source, for energy, and it can use the fat on our body for energy because that's what it's designed for. Our body stored it there to have extra energy in case, again, we got locked in an ice cave. Well, I don't really see people getting locked in an ice cave very much in 2022. You know, crazy things are happening right now, but most of the time, my clients don't have to worry about getting locked in an ice cave. And in fact, the opposite of what our genetics are wired to do are in an environment that's really only been developed over the last 100 years. We've only had fast food for 60 years. We've only had agriculture for 11,000 years when we've been hunter-gatherers for hundreds of thousands of years. And what we know are these primary blueprint genetics. They don't change in a couple lifetimes. They change over thousands of lifetimes, which means we are running on a genetic profile that was primed tens, hundreds of thousands of years ago when we were hunter-gatherers in feast and famine, where there'd be some days where we'd have no food, there'd be some days where we'd have a kill and be able to get into a bunch of honey. And when that happened, our brain would send dopamine signals saying, yes, eat all of that, we are going to store it, we are going to save it for later. Unfortunately, what's happening is we are constantly in this dopamine signaling. And if we're constantly in a dopamine signaling, we're constantly dysregulating our hormones that tell us when we're hungry and our hormones that tell us when we're full. So going back to what I cover in my program, in a 12-week period, I take women on a journey to not only get their insulin more sensitive, but to regulate those hormones of when we are hungry and when we are not hungry, also known as like really helping to clean up the toxic hunger, which so many people have, and they don't even realize they have it because there's so many chemicals in our diet. And so I really teach women how to navigate and how to make better decisions so they don't get stuck in that trap. I also teach how to become metabolically flexible. So in my program, we go through cycles. And in these cycles, we are priming our metabolic flexibility profile so that when we are out in the world, our body now has the choice. Am I going to burn glucose, or am I going glucose, also known as sugar, or am I going to burn fat for energy? And I have the ability to burn both. And then I teach women how to use cycles of eating to be able to fire those systems differently. And here's the cool thing. When we get insulin regulated and it stops sending the signal to store hormones, when we get the satiation hormones under control and people actually get the signals of I'm full now, when we teach people, when I teach women to become metabolically flexible so that they can use different food sources for energy, the weight releases. And that's why I call this sustainable weight release, because the body lets it go. And the cool thing is that the body lets it go in places that we want it to let it go, our storage spots, right? So women notice when they work with me, they notice they lose weight in their belly, they lose weight in their hips. They're not always losing it. You know, a lot of the times when I've done like Weight Watchers or calorie deprivation, I'll lose a lot of weight in my breasts right away. And that's about it. I still cannot fit into the pants that I want to fit into. So this program is designed to really help women just turn on their genetic blueprint that is innate to them so that their body can send appropriate signals. And I also teach women to be able to interpret their body's signals, which is the biggest part of this program that I'm so proud of, is because after the 12 weeks, you get to walk away with a toolbox of how your body works that you'll be able to utilize for years to come. And I teach you how that's related to being a female and our different hormone profiles and how our hormone profiles change over the years and how to adapt to that. So that's an overview of the program that I'm offering. If you'd like more information about it, just put a 1 in the chat. I'll take note of your name and I will send you an email with some more information. I'm going to stop the recording now so we could dive into some question and answer. Thanks for being here.